Hi, it's Alex from Laughing Place. You're watching Laughing Place on location. We're here at the Walt Disney Animation Studios in Burbank for a look at new shorts coming to Disney Plus. From the Short Circuit program, there's Life Drawings and Maddie the Test, and a collaboration between the Burbank studio and Vancouver is Versa. We got to speak with the filmmakers behind these shorts, both in roundtables and one-on-one interviews, so stay tuned. You're going to learn a lot more about all three projects.
The first thing that happened when we were selected into the program was there was a roundtable with all of the prior Short Circuit directors, at least for my group there was, and it was literally like an hour and a half of advice. And I wrote every piece of it down. I still have it in a notebook. It was a lot and it was overwhelming, but it was really helpful. My specific mentor was Trent Corey, who directed the Short Circuit film Drop. He's since directed Once Upon a Snowman, Once Upon a Studio, and is working on a feature film right now. And so that was just a really special relationship. Trent is a lovely human being, but also was willing to kind of dive in and get his hands dirty in the drawings with me. So some of the earlier versions of the character named Maddie, the little purple character, actually came from Trent, like playing with the squash and stretch of the character. So not only was he there supporting me as a director, but he was kind of helping me find those visual aspects of the film, which was really cool. And we still connect on a regular basis.
My mentor was Don Hall, and I've worked with him almost all his projects here. And he was very like, just let me do my thing, and once in a while he'll kind of like steer me in the right direction. And I don't know, I feel like he thought I was probably pretty sufficient enough, so he kind of let me do my thing until I have questions for him.
I was picked during the pandemic, and my leader, who's actually in my day job, who's actually the executive producer of this program, called me at home one day and told me that I had been selected, which was really fun. I don't know exactly how long, but it was several years. Yeah. But it was, I think Larry has talked about this a lot. We both were very patient, and it gave us time to like really think about certain decisions that we wanted to make. So there was that benefit that we were both learning as directors in this process, so it gave us a little extra time to learn.
When I first pitched it, I wasn't sure how we were gonna do it, some of the stages in life. But I had to pause my project a couple times because I was in leadership position, so I had to like finish features. So in that time, other projects were able to develop newer tool sets that I could use for my short.
Because I had the chance to do something I don't normally do here at the studio, I was really intentional about giving other people a chance to stretch outside of what would be their kind of home discipline, right? We're very, each individual here is so talented, and they've like really studied that specific aspect of work, whether it's an animator or an effects animator, etc. So we, on my short, tried to give other people a chance to go from, say, 2D animation into storyboarding, or our music manager here at the studio, who manages all the music and all the productions, actually composed the music for both of our shorts, which is something she had never done here before. So that was, for me, that was the biggest thing, was giving as many other people as I could the opportunity to stretch outside of kind of what their day job was.
The first version of this was a ballerina creates the universe. And man, I was like, okay, it would look really cool. And I worked on that. I've got a little sketch that I had done of this sort of ballerina. It happened as kind of an accident because I drew this dancer, and then I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I did like a pond ripple, like in Fantasia, and the little fairies kind of ping the water. So I tried to draw these little ripples, and I did such a bad job. It looked like clouds. I was like, oh wait, it's like a galaxy. And then I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. So that was like the very first kind of moment. Years ago, we went stargazing with some friends of ours. He showed us the Alberio system, and it's a binary star system, which is just two stars that orbit each other, and one was blue and one was yellow. And I remember so clearly seeing that and being like, oh my god, that's such like a romantic idea of these two stars. And so I think the ballerina and then that experience with the looking at going stargazing, I was like, oh, that would be great to do something kind of poetic and, you know, musically driven. And then an early version of the short, it was more, it was literally stars that would kind of zooming around each other. But I felt like once I started to think more deeply about the dance and the choreography, it sort of evolved to what it is today. And then it just, you know, a lot of these things just keep getting more and more clear, just the more you push on them and push on them. And you could probably continue to work them forever. But I think we chiseled it away to, I think, the simplest version with what we were able to do. I spoke with Paul Felix, who is an amazing artist, and he did some really early concept designs that, you know, I would then add that to my pitch. So it started kind of more inspiration and ingredient based into slowly bringing in more visuals of like, this is what this could look like. This is what I did moment paintings where it's like, this would be the moment where, you know, they come together, or this is the push and pull moment, or this is that moment. But I'm very visual, and so everything that I was doing was like a drawing base or a painting moment. And then later coming in and then getting production support, and then Ryan Lang came in and kept visualizing everything for us. He's an amazing painter, and he was our production designer. And so he was really valuable at bringing all of that stuff, you know, to light. But very visual beginnings. I never had a script. We had an outline early on, but there was never much written for it outside of the beats, and we would present that to Jen. But it was usually beats accompanied by a drawing or a painting or a reference image of something. Keely has such a great way of being my best critic. She was sort of my spiritual executive producer. There's a moment in the short where they say goodbye to the child that they lose, and she was such a strong encourager of, no, they have to, you know, early on I was like, well, maybe it's more symbolic, you know. She's like, no, it's important. We went through that. A lot of the big emotional anchors of the project was really from her support, and really just trying to make sure that we're honoring what we went through and also other folks. But my favorite story was when we were building the characters, and I had always been drawing Mom sort of a peach color. It's kind of an orangey peach color, and Dad was sort of this blue. I knew I wanted the characters to be warm and cool. And then I showed Keely, and she was like, oh, I would be blue. She's like, I'm like moody and blue. And we had already, the characters were not that color, like in the movie. And so I was like, oh, crap. So then the next day, I come into work, and I'm like, I've been thinking about the colors of the characters. And so I had a really good reason in that moment why we needed, because of the story, we needed to change it wasn't a big change. It was relatively an easy thing to adjust at that moment of production, but the truth came out later. I was like, yeah, Keely she wasn't going to be. Having lived with it for about 7-8 years before starting to produce it, made the feeling of seeing it very, I don't know, it was very surreal in the way of like, oh wow, now this exists. A lot of this was made at home. There's a few days a week where I'll work from home, and so we'll be in reviews, and Casper will come and sit on my lap and kind of watch reviews. And I do a lot of drawing for feedback, and so I'll do drawovers, and then he'll come in and say, can I help? So there's one moment where he drew a little star on Mom's hair, and I was joking and sent that to the lighting team. I was like, all right, my son had a note on the, but then the lighter was like, hey, put that star over there. So there's a frame where the star he drew is actually in the Mom's hair. It's when she kind of comes, they come back and she shakes her hair. There's a little star in her hair. He's got these like freckles, we call them his constellations. He's got these 3 freckles that's like a triangle on his face. And we got the child at the end. So I don't know if I said this, Casper, he was born at the end of Moana. So we lost Cooper at the beginning and found out, he was born in the beginning of Wreck-It Ralph too, but we found out we were pregnant with Casper at the end of Moana. And a child you have after an infant loss is called a rainbow baby. So the idea is sort of a rainbow after the storm, which I always thought was very poetic. So the child at the end of the short has sort of a rainbow prism color around him, so that's the symbolism for the rainbow baby, but it is definitely sort of designed. That one is more designed after a young Casper. So he's got his freckles and he's in there. So he takes great pride in being in a Disney film.
I saw Aladdin 13 times in the movie theater and dragged my best friend over and over again. So that one is for sure the one for me.
There's two movies for me. The first movie I ever saw as a kid was Peter Pan, and it really scared me. I don't know why, and also the next one I saw was Pinocchio, and so those two movies, just like I don't know what happened, but I knew that's what I wanted to do.
I don't know if it's one specific film. I feel like I just loved animated movies and I loved cartoons, and I just was like, man, if I could do anything, I'd want to make these. When I was little, Space Jam was a big influence. I loved Aladdin. Aladdin was a huge influence. The genie was so amazing. Lion King, incredible.
Life Drawings and Maddie and the Test are now streaming on Disney Plus. Be sure to check out Versa, streaming soon. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Laughing Place on Location. Be sure to stay tuned next Sunday for another brand new episode. Take care. Bye.